Hey friends, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a series that we created that takes a look at ideas surrounding natural health topics, and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps that you can take. My name's Brian Strickland. I'm joined again today by Ed Jones. He's the founder and owner of Nutrition World. And today we're continuing our trend talking about heart-specific topics for the month of February in honor of American Heart Month. And we wanted to just get really practical this time. And we're going to go over 5 tips that we think are essential to help keep your heart healthy over time as we age. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Number 1 on our list is just being active, not necessarily being a gym rat or, overdoing it necessarily, but just being active and exercising in general. And Ed, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Brian, I've been very active in the gym for 50 years, and this is not what I'm speaking about. I'm kind of an addict to the gym, and I love it, and I love all it does for me. But really, the cliche and the thing I repeat often is that sitting is the new smoking. Why do we say that? And this has been verified by many studies. When we are inactive more than a half of a day, if we take in blood work before and after that inactivity, all of the markers of blood chemistry tend to lean a little bit, even in 4 hours, toward faster aging and more inflammation and more damaged and poor circulation in the body. We are meant to be moving animals. We are meant to be, you never see a deer that just stays in the same place all the time. They're always up, just like all animals, even our pets. Being active doesn't mean you go in and lift bench presses at the gym, but it means that every day, maybe you could skip a day and do every other, but you need to have 30 to 40 minutes of movement. Movement probably needs to be planned in people's lives. It's easy to say, I'm gonna go do this tomorrow, but you know what? I've seen too many people that the tomorrows turn into a 10-year episode of not being active, and then it's harder to regain that. Yeah. So just finding a hobby that you can do every single day or every other day, or making a committed effort for 30 to 40 minutes of a bicycle in your house, walking, doing something that is consistent. It is key, because that's what makes nutrients work. That's what makes your food go the right places. That's what decreases circulation. That's what raises your brain chemistry. We have to be more active, because we are not a nation of super active people.
Yeah, and like you said, it's extremely important to go ahead and put that into your schedule. All of our lives are busy. I've got 2 young kids. We all have busy schedules. So unless we really make a conscientious effort and put that into our schedule, it can easily slip by. So that's great advice. Next up on the list is something that you may not think of necessarily for heart health, but that's getting adequate sleep and quality sleep. That's something that we love to emphasize around here. And Ed, what is it about sleep that can help improve our heart health?
Well, everyone who knows anything about the word sleep apnea, there have been so many people who have passed away in the night because of that. Why is that? Because their lack of sleep or deep sleep on a consistent basis decreases oxygen. It strains the heart. You do that for a long period of time, sometimes the heart just quits beating. And even people without sleep apnea, insomnia has been one of my real challenges of my life since my daughter was born 31 years ago. It just kind of rewired me. And I say this often, you really can't cure insomnia, you manage it. And I have a management technique that I have learned through just experimenting with nutrients and herbs and lifestyle and reducing TV exposure or my cell phone exposure later in the night. But I have an ebook on nutritionw.com for insomnia, just called a sleep ebook. Feel free to download it. But the key to this, there's several keys, one of which is decreasing any visual look at any cell phone or computer or TV that produces blue light. That's telling your brain to stay awake. Secondly is I have found a remedy lately called NAD, and Dr. David Sinclair, who's a credible scientist, has a podcast that I love to listen to, and he talked about NAD and how it resets the circadian rhythms. And what was odd about that is I started NAD about 2 months ago. I've had the best 2 months of sleep I have had in probably a decade and a half, and I can verify that through this special ring that I have called an Aura ring, O-U-R-A, that analyzes every level of sleep. NAD has helped me, but there's other things too. And the last thing with sleep, I know it's weird, but it's one of the most important, is to stop mouth breathing. Guess what, people? You can't stop mouth breathing on your own because you're asleep. So you have to come into the nutritional world and purchase a little special tape. I talked about it for about 15 years now, and put it just in the middle of your mouth. That keeps your chin from opening. That changes the whole concept of oxygen and carbon dioxide ratios. And there's a book I just read and I actually listened to called Breath, and it is stunning, the science behind this one simple $4 remedy for life-changing habits that you can improve on very easily.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to get the book Breath, go get our tape, and try this mouth breathing. Stop mouth breathing. And if you have dry mouth when you wake up, you're a mouth breather. If you snore, you're a mouth breather. So it's not hard to diagnose.
And it can even help clear up the sinuses actually when you sleep, right?
It does, because in the book they explain that our nose atrophies if we are mouth breathers. That means it gets bigger and clogged up. Once and 3 to 7 days of stopping the mouth breathing, the nose learns how to relax again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Next on our list, of course, would be supplements, where we would be remiss if we didn't mention them at least at some point in these videos. And you've got 2 on here that, I mean, arguably they are some of the most essential nutrients that people can take. So let's go ahead and tell us what those 2 are and why they're so important to heart health.
Yes, Brian. And, study after study, 80% of them are talking about omega-3 and the benefit. In fact, I will say this. I have 27 staff members. We have a blood test that's a finger prick test. We gave every one of our staff members this test. My people are here because they love what they do and they want to participate and learn more about nutrition first. They also eat better than most people, and they also supplement. Guess what? 50% of those employees, Brian, were low on omega-3s when we tested them.
Yeah.
And so it's changed their game, because now they know maybe to eat a little bit more of the wild-caught fish, but also to maybe up their supplements. That helps to regulate heart rhythm, helps to decrease triglycerides. It helps in many areas. And then the second nutrient, there was a landmark study that just came out where they tested people who took 200 milligrams of coenzyme Q10, also combined with 200 milligrams of selenium. And in that study, it was a placebo-controlled study. It took 4 years of this study to observe people. 50% less cardiovascular events.
Wow.
Just from those 2 nutrients, not even counting omega-3. This information will not get to your doctor, people. There's no highway to that place because it's made by nutraceuticals, not pharmaceuticals. So again, 200 milligrams of coenzyme Q10 and 200 milligrams of selenium.
Is there what is it about those 2 together that produces those results? Do they have to be taken in combination?
No, coenzyme Q10 together by itself is an incredibly strengthener of the heart. It balances it. Everyone who's on a cholesterol-lowering medication or cholesterol-lowering nutrient is going to be deficient in coenzyme Q10. It makes no sense that some people are taking things for their heart that's making a deficiency of a nutrient that then makes your heart weak. So it keeps your heart very strong. And then selenium has to do with reducing damage to the heart from just aging itself.
Okay. Good to know. Next, we are going to talk about diet for just a minute. Of course, we are big advocates of eating red meat, eating adequate amounts of protein. We think that is a very important part of diet and nutrition. But you have listed here to increase your level of vegetables and decrease the amount of processed carbs. And that's something I think that we can all live by and benefit from. So what is it about those that can help our heart?
Well, thank you, Brian. And the thing is, I am a fan of higher healthy protein and very healthy fat, leaning toward a keto, not staying in a keto. Again, I do about 60 carbs Monday through Friday, 200 on weekends. But the fact that there is still magic in well-grown foods that come from the earth that are full of what we call phytochemicals, which are sometimes really life-extending. They decrease disease. They decrease poisons in the body. The issue is that a lot of people don't go and have many of those. So I do a green drink every day from one of our companies. I dump it in my protein to kind of give me an insurance against it. But every day we need to be choosing these things that like have indole-3 carbinol in them, like cabbage and cruciferous vegetables, because they take estrogen that is toxic in men and women and help us to excrete it. It does multiple plethora of things can be done by plant-based vegetables. but not if that's the whole diet, because then the whole diet becomes too many carbs, and that then decreases, I think, the health of many people.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, also processed fats like canola oil, we got to make sure we're not on that. And what is a processed carb? Really, most people, it's pasta and bread and desserts and sugar. I mean, that's really what most people eat, that like they kind of don't put in their head it's a processed carb. Those are the ones we need to significantly decrease. Significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Last and certainly not least, we're going to divert a little bit and talk about mental health, the state of our mind, how that can affect our anxiety levels, our stress levels, and indeed our heart health as well. So just give us a few tips on why meditation or some sort of meditative practice is so important, and what's an entry point that people can do if they wanted to start this practice themselves.
Well, Brian, I think we all have certainly heard the stories of heartbreak. Someone has something horrible in their life, someone passes away, and just within months, they die of heart failure. Emotions are probably the strongest influencer of our future health than probably anything. I've seen people with, I think, an amazing emotional state who actually can do lots of bad things and kind of slide by for many extra years. Finally, it catches up. But the thing is, when I was 14 years old, I went to Grace Episcopal Church to take a class in TM, Transcendental Meditation. I was only 14. I'm 65 now. I remember riding my bicycle over there. My dad was like, "What? You want to do what?" It was the start of a lifelong practice of calming my thought patterns. We have what I call cognitive popcorn. It means that all day long and even sometimes all night, we're just popping thoughts out constantly. Nothing wrong with that. It makes us accomplish a tremendous amount of things in our life. If I fly my airplane from point A to point B, I want to use that cognitive popcorn to make sure I do everything right and get to where I want to go. But the thing is, many times it is overwhelming us because we never have a quiet moment. And reflective quiet moments is where brilliant things can happen. They can come out from the places you didn't even imagine, but they won't do that as long as the chatter continues on at 100 miles an hour. Nothing wrong with chatter, but we need breaks from it. I have been using a app for 15 years called Insight Timer, free. And I've logged over probably 5,000 meditative episodes in there. I don't know. I recommend it highly. Find 20 minutes every day to do something on Insight Timer. And I think your life can positively, and your heart and your spirit will turn toward the positive. It is somewhat like the gym. There'll be days you don't want to do it. Well, guess what? If you do that, if you don't do it, you're going to be not at your optimal. We have options that are free and relatively easy. It just takes some discipline. And if you can just plug into that for 12 weeks, I'd ask people 12 weeks, you will never be the same. So Insight Timer.
Yeah, perfect. That's great advice. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, if you ever have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Like and subscribe for more content just like this every single week. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nutrition Made Simple.
Thank you.